So it's been 20 days since the violence broke out between Israel and Gaza, and at this moment as we speak, more than 7,000 Palestinian civilians have been killed in this campaign of relentless bombing that the state of Israel has resorted to. Now, Gaza continues to remain under a crippling blockade where more than 2.3 million people at this moment are still without access to food, water, electricity and fuel. And they've been denied these basic human necessities for over 18 days now. For almost a fortnight, there's been a lot of talk about a potential ground invasion by the Israelis. The battle tanks are ready at the border. Some have even been making forays into the Gazan territory. An estimated 360,000 soldiers and reservists of the Israeli forces have been mobilized, and they've completely surrounded the Gaza Strip. Late last night, some media reports indicated that Israel had agreed to delay the ground invasion. The report further claimed that the United States convinced Israel to do so because that would give Pentagon time to rush more missile defenses to the region. And hours later, the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu said this.
We are preparing for a ground invasion. I will not elaborate on when, how or how many. I will also not elaborate on the various calculations we are making, which the public is mostly unaware of. And that is how things should be.
Now, at this point of time, Israel claims that it is purposely not putting out more information. Ambiguity, it says, it's part of its strategy. Because right after the Prime Minister's address, the Israeli Defense Ministry released this footage. The army entered into the Gaza Strip overnight with multiple tanks. Now, these are probing little tiny attacks that Israel has been carrying out. Now, the IDF claims that it has struck many Hamas structures and anti-tank missile launch posts. Now, Israel has already made many limited incursions, probing incursions into the Gaza Strip in the last week and a half. The biggest incursion so far in the war by the Israelis happened last night, but soon the Israeli tanks, of course, turned tail and came back into the Israeli territory. In a tweet, the Israeli forces have said that this ground incursion is in preparation for the next stage of combat. Now, the IDF has confirmed that the soldiers have since exited from the Palestinian territories and have now, of course, come back into the Israeli territory.
This war will be long, and in order to meet the goals of this war, we need resilience, we need faith, we need patience.
Now, many experts are in fact suggesting that Israel probably has no clear strategy. They've also noted that Israel's strategy cannot be judged according to the past conflicts. The overnight incursion could, of course, be to probe the Palestinian defenses. While analysts are busy analyzing Israel's strategy, Gaza remains under siege. Now remember, sieges are amongst the oldest of the military tactics. So when on the 9th of October, Israel announced the siege of Gaza, it wasn't surprising. What has followed has, of course, shocked the world. The Gaza Strip has been cut off from all communication and supplies. An unprecedented humanitarian crisis is unfolding. So as people have no access to food, water, fuel and electricity, Israel has also asked all Palestinians to move towards the south. But people of Gaza say that they are being bombarded in the very places that Israel had earlier claimed that these places are safe. Now, Maxa Technologies has compared some of the locations. It shows the devastation that's been wreaked by Israeli bombings, both in the northern and the southern part of Gaza. And I earlier spoke with Mr. Frederick Fleets, who joined me live from Washington, D.C. He's the Vice Chairman of America First Policy Institute Center for American Security and also a Chief of Staff of National Security Council. Listen to what he had to say.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. I like to say at the outset that we know that truth is the first victim in times of war. We don't really know what's going on in Gaza. These numbers of thousands of Palestinians being killed, those numbers are from Hamas. We don't know that they're true. But I will say that basically Israel's goal, I heard your program and frankly, it sounded like Hamas propaganda. I didn't hear you talk about what Hamas did to murder and rape and brutalize 1,300 people in Israel and across the border. Israel wants to conduct this attack to wipe Hamas out as a terrorist group on its border and as a governing authority of this organization, of this area. But I agree, this is going to be difficult. And whatever Israel's plan is, it's not putting it forward right now for the public to know. It doesn't want Gaza to know. And Israel's going to invade when it's ready to invade. It knows that Gaza is full of traps and landmines and snipers, and the Israelis are not going to walk into a trap. They will invade Gaza when they're ready.
All right, so that, of course, is the perspective by the Israelis, where they've not put out what their strategy is. We still do not even know what strategy Israel has got to try and secure the release of the hostages who at this moment of time are in the custody of Hamas. And we also earlier spoke with Mr. Mohammed Najib, who's a journalist and also a war correspondent and a security analyst. He joined us live from Ramallah, and this is what he's had to say on this conflict.
The Palestinian journalists in Gaza are working in extremely difficult and dangerous situation since the outbreak of this Israeli war against Gaza on 7 October. And yesterday it was clear that they bombed the house of Al Jazeera reporter Wael Dahtour, where they killed his wife, daughter and son in a brutal attack which angered all the Palestinians, while another Palestinian journalist also were killed and other injured. Since the outbreak of this war, Israel has banned all foreign press to cross to the Gaza Strip to cover the war, because the borders and the crossing borders with Israel were closed, as well as the Rafah, the crossing border with Egypt, also closed. So the international media depends on local correspondents to cover what's going on in the Gaza Strip, and the wires and the news agencies, so which is make it incomplete. And the journalists are working in a difficult situation. They don't have electricity to charge their mobiles. Israel also disconnected the internet from the Gaza Strip 10 days ago. So the situation are difficult for journalists, and it is a unique and unprecedented challenging situation and condition for our colleagues' work.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.